You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Good evening and welcome to the Sporting Times special Purple Edition. I'm Doug Thompson.
And I'm Taryn Johnson.
It is great to have you joining us on a Friday night, the eve of the 5A State Championship. Taryn, it is great to be here with you. Everything is perfect. Christmas is just a week away or so, a week and a day or two, and we're getting ready for a state football championship.
Well, Doug, first off, thank you so much for having me back. I am tickled to death to be on with you again. It seems like just yesterday we were talking before the season began, and now here we are, the day before state championship game. But what a season it has been, and what a postseason it's been, especially for these Purples.
It's been an amazing season. When you go back and you look at August, when we weren't sure, early August, if we were going to even have football, these players have pushed through, Taryn. We had 4 teams in the playoffs last week. We've got one now, and that's okay. But you know, the Bowling Green Purples have shown. You and I have talked about this. They have gotten stronger every single week. And you made a great point about that South Warren game.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. Nobody has played a schedule as tough as Bowling Green's this year. They are battle tested. They've been in those big moments, and we've seen it in the postseason. When it comes down to crunch time, they're prepared. They're ready because they've been in those big moments, and specifically in that round 2 game against South Warren. And when it came down to crunch time in that second half, Bowling Green shined.
It's amazing. You do not have to go far to get some of the best competition in the state. We are so fortunate to have like a South Warren and a Bowling Green, same district, same class,
absolutely,
right in our backyard. You know, but for the Purples, this is a traditional football team. I mean, this is a team, and we're going to talk to Gary Fields, the superintendent, here in a few minutes, that has so much history. And it's fun to kind of look back at, you know, what these players were like, you know, 15, 5, 10 years ago. I can't go back any further. There's so many of them. But just such a great tradition, a traditional powerhouse in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. You know, you mentioned Bowling Green. They're 8th in the state in overall, in all-time wins with 717 entering tomorrow night's game. They're 6-time state champions, 4-time runner-ups, and you know, they have a tradition of winning. And Doug, nobody knows local high school sports like you do. I'm not just saying that because I'm on with you. So I got to ask, who are some of the most exciting players that you have seen go through the Bowling Green program over the years?
You know, it's amazing. You know, if you look at the quarterbacks and you look at Scooter Hollis. Scooter Hollis was amazing. He passed for 2,300 yards. He ran for another 843 yards. He was a great quarterback. Trent Steelman, all right? He was the first freshman for Army to ever play and start as a quarterback. He had a storied career at Army. Wow. Same thing at Bowling Green High School. He was a blue-collar quarterback. He was tough. He would rather run through you than run around you. You look at other quarterbacks, Clark Payne, 3,800 yards passing one year, 44 touchdowns. Wow. You look at the receivers. D.L. Moore went to South Carolina. You look at Nakarius Fant, Mr. Kentucky football. Mm-hmm. You could throw anything that was reachable. He would catch. A great, great receiver for the Purples. Bo Buchanan, another quarterback. But the one player that sticks out in my mind is Jamel Carruthers. And he is a running back who got his shot when they had a 52 win streak against Owensboro.
Wow.
Owensboro had them down at halftime. Yates, the starting running back for Bowling Green Purples, was out for an injury. Sophomore running back came in for the Purples. You won't believe this. He rushed for 19 yards in the first half. He comes out in the second half, rushes for over 300 yards.
What?
4 touchdowns.
Oh,
and that was the beginning of juice.
Oh, my gosh.
And he now is a starter for Navy.
A legend was born in those 2 quarters. That's amazing.
I will never forget that. It was an amazing thing to witness. So just so many great players. And then, you know, you look at Blake Pillow, D'Angelo Wilson, you look at Kofor, you look at Stuart Hines, just on and on and on and on.
And Vito Tisdale, as recent as last year, an Army All-American.
Yes. So, you know, it's just pick a year, and you can find great storylines on these rosters. And 2020 is not going to be any different.
Yeah, yes, sir. A lot of good storylines with this current team we have in Bowling Green.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to take a short break, Taryn, and when we come back, Gary Fields, the superintendent of the Bowling Green Independent School District, will join us right here on the Sporting Time Show. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
You're watching the Sporting Time Show on WNKY 40.
Welcome back to the show. I'd like to join in Gary Fields, the superintendent of the Bowling Green Independent School District. Gary, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You know, this is such a big week. The Purples have made it to the state championship in 5A, and it is very exciting. They're playing an arch rival in Owensboro. And but before we get to this game a little bit, I want to talk to you about everything that you've had to do. I mean, it's been incredible. I can only imagine as an administrator getting to this point that we're in December when this all started in March, not knowing if we were going to have a football season in August or not, but just, I don't know if we have enough time for you to explain everything that you've had to do, but just logistical to get kids in school and do everything that you guys are doing.
Well, you know, we're 9 months into this. March 12th seems like a lifetime ago when we first called off school. And, you know, it's a credit. It's not a credit to me. It's a credit to the amazing 650 employees we have in our school district, our parents and our students. You know, everybody has bought into knowing that being in school, playing sports were important things everybody wanted to do. So we said we have to do these things. We have to wear masks. We have to socially distance. We have to be flexible and know that there's going to be weeks where maybe we don't play a game or weeks where we don't have in-person school. But we all have to be reasonable. Has been kind of my motto: be reasonable and have grace. And I think that our school district, our employees have done that, and that's been, you know, a credit to them and allowed kids to have great experiences. So, you know, kids have only been in school 2 days a week for most of the first semester. We didn't get to play every game we had scheduled this year, but I hear kids say this all the time. They go, "Mr. Fields, but we have something."
Right.
It's not everything, but it's something. And I think in 2020, we appreciate having a little bit, if it's not everything.
Well, you know, it's the student athletes are so impressive because they have taken this so seriously because they've wanted to play. They really weren't messing around. And look, there's going to be an occasional time where they're going to miss a week. It's just the way that it's happening. But congrats to them for really stepping up and doing all the right things that they can do so that we can have a season. Speaking of seasons, I want to talk to you about your 1982 to 1985 when you played high school football. And Cov Cath got the best of you back when you played, but it was kind of sweet revenge last week when the Purples really put it on them. How much fun was that?
That's been, you know, 30 plus years in the making for me. You know, Bowling Green High had never beat Covington Catholic in football. You know, I was there in '94 with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, watching the Purples lose to Cov Cath in the state championship game. I saw us lose to them in the mid-2000s in the state championship game. And myself, they were back then we had split districts. I was in a district with Newport Catholic and Highlands, and then Cov Cath was opposite us, and lost to them 5 times in 4 years. I've been waiting a long time for that one. So it was pretty sweet for an old 52-year-old superintendent.
Well, it's a long way to go too to lose anyway. Last year, Cov Cath got the best of Bowling Green. They turned the tables this year and shut them out. We've got about 30 seconds, Gary, in this segment. We're going to bring you back, but just kind of talk about this big rivalry with Owensboro because it is rich.
It is our oldest rivalry in football. It's 40-39 in wins. We're one ahead. We want to be two ahead after Saturday. I am the mentor superintendent for the new superintendent in Owensboro, so I told him I can't let the mentee beat the mentor. So there's a lot in play here, Doug, and we're gonna pull this one out.
I bet you there's some soft drinks and maybe some other things on the line at this game. It's going to be very exciting. I think since 2002, the Purples are going for their 9th state championship. Is that right?
This will be we're going for our 7th.
7th, okay.
7th title. We've won 6. We won 95 and then the 5 in the last few years. So this will be number 7 we're going for. Obviously, we lost the 3 in the 2005, 6, and 7. So those are still painful. So, I think we have staff members who don't want to, know what that felt like. Coach Spader especially, who says, look, you don't want to be on the losing end of this thing.
I'm going to bring you back real quick. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more with Gary Fields right here on the Sporting Time Show. We're going to take a short break. Welcome back to the show again. Gary Fields, the superintendent of the Bowling Green Independent School System, is my guest today. Gary, we can't talk enough about the tradition and the players that have put on a Bowling Green Purples uniform. 16 years that I have watched the Purples. You think about D.L. Moore, you think about Kofor, you think about Trent Steelman, Hayes, Carruthers. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Talk a little bit about this tradition and how great it is to really be a Purple and to be part of this football program.
Well, it's a special thing. It's special for generations. Even our players from back 30, 40, 50 years ago who maybe didn't have the same success as the teams have more recently. I think that they all celebrating that because it all builds on itself. We stand on the shoulders of the players and the teams before us and the coaches before us. I think it was a pretty unique. I don't know if you saw my tweet the other night, but if you have been a freshman in our program since 2002 and stayed with the program 4 years, you have had the opportunity to play in a state championship.
Oh,
so how incredible is that every kid that's walked through the field house at L. Donaldson Stadium since 2002, since that freshman year, has played in the state championship game. So pretty special place. We never want to take that for granted. Yeah. It's hard to get to the top, but I would argue it's hard to stay up there because everybody wants to knock us off. Trust me, Owensboro would love to beat us on Saturday for many reasons, not just the state championship. So it's a credit to our coaches, our players who have been incredible in the support we get from our school district and our community.
Well, I was telling the staff here that I have never prepared so much for a show because when you try to look at the history of the Purples and try to put things into our show, there's just too much. I mean, there's just too much information. There's too many great storylines. And then, you talk about the coaches, the tree of all the different coaches that have come through the Purples that have gone on to be head coaches or have come back to coach. Seabolt now, offensive coordinator, was the head coach of Greenwood High School, had been a Purple before. I mean, there are great storylines across the board.
Well, I think it's exciting. I think the other thing we need to appreciate, and I think Coach Spader spent some time this week with not just our players, because our players haven't been in this game, but some of our coaching staff haven't been in this game before. We have a lot of coaches that are new to the staff that weren't here in 2016. So, you have to prep them because we know, as hard as those 3 losses in 05, 06, and 07 were for us in the state finals, that set the stage for that run of 5 championships and hopefully 6 come Saturday. And so, we have to be ready. We can't go up there and act like we haven't been there before. And so our coaches that have been there before have to relay what that experience is going to be like to our kids and our assistant coaches who are new to this process.
We've got a couple of minutes left, Gary, and one of the things that I noticed about this team and teams in years past, there's always been a lot of superstars on different teams, right? And this team has got great players but they seem to just play so well together as a team. Kind of talk about this 2020 team and what they've been able to accomplish.
Well, I think we have stars in this team.
Oh, yeah.
From JV and Connor to Burwash and
Burwash,
Dingle to the D line. To Reese Jones, who's as good a linebacker you'll find in the state, our young DBs. But what I love and what makes our program, I think, special and makes us like the Highlands teams that I grew up seeing in Northern Kentucky is that kids stay in the program for 4 years.
Yep.
Kids know that they have to wait their turn. So the number of seniors from the Strode boys to Rainville to all these kids that Christian Johnson, all these kids that are names that you don't hear all the time, but they are the glue that makes Bowling Green football work. And so we can't forget about what it means to wait. I mean, those kids have waited 4 years for their shot, and we call their name, and they come in and they make a big play in a big game. Who would have thought that? To lose Des Wilson, who we don't want to forget about Des, but when we lost Des, heck, I started wondering what we could do this season, and to see the kids step up and make plays, just incredible. And I think that's what makes Bowling Green football special.
Absolutely. Gary, thank you very much for joining me. I will see you Saturday at Kroger Field. Go Purples. 3-touchdown win for the Purples. I'm saying it right now, right here. I know you won't predict it, but thank you very much, Gary. Welcome back to the show. Thank you, Gary Fields, for being our guest today. Taryn, he is obviously, he was a teacher, a coach for the Purples. He also was the principal, now the superintendent. But he is very competitive. I mean, he, in a good way, right? You can be competitive,
A competitive nature is beneficial.
Yes.
I agree.
And but always a great guest, and really supports our community in a big way.
Absolutely.
But here we are on the eve of the 5A state championship, and we want to talk a little bit about this 2020 team. And,
yes, sir.
And you made a great observation about the game against South Warren. Of course, they lose the regular season game against the Spartans, and then they come back and win in postseason, very much like the Spartans did to them in years past. But what about this team? I mean, this is a pretty special team.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Doug. And this team is very senior laden. We know that. But at the beginning of the season, you look at that schedule and you go to Louisville 3 times to play 3 separate teams in Jefferson County. Unbelievable. At the beginning of the season, we knew we'd find out right off the bat how legit this team was going to Louisville on back-to-back Friday nights. And ever since then, Doug, obviously they have a 9-2 record now. They dropped that game 10-7 to South Warren in L. Donaldson Stadium. But the postseason, a different story. And I think, just my personal opinion, Doug, but I think it was because of the schedule that Bowling Green played. They were battle-tested. They played those tough opponents in those huge matchups throughout the course of the regular season. So when it got down to crunch time in round 2 in that game against the Spartans, they were ready. They'd been there, and they'd done that. And I think that was a huge part and leading Bowling Green to that win and the 2 wins since.
Yeah, it always pays benefits to have a tough schedule. Yes, it may not look pretty at the beginning of the season, but who cares? They're not handing out state championship trophies in late August or early September.
That's right.
But I got to tell you, this team, this Purples team is, Connor Cooper has done a great job, and he just continues to evolve a quarterback. You look at Eli Burwash and what he's been able to do as a player. But I think one of the things that I really like about this Purples team is their defense. And it all starts with Reese Jones. I mean, he is an absolute monster on defense. And he has plenty of help with Moore and Lightfoot and the rest of the guys.
Absolutely.
But he is very tough.
Oh, Reese Jones is fantastic, and really the glue that holds this defense together. He is the heart of the defense, the quarterback of the unit. But I love this defensive secondary, Doug.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. The last 3 games, 13 13 interceptions. I'm going to look at the camera and say this. 13 interceptions the last 3 games.
Are you saying one? Are you saying 1-3?
That 1-3.
Okay.
1-3. Not throughout the entire season, folks. In the last 3 games
Yeah.
alone. That's unbelievable. That's absurd, Doug.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
And you know what 13 equals? Speed.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
those guys break on the ball.
That's right.
That secondary breaks on the ball like nobody else. You know, Cov Calf was a throwing team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, Bowling Green was a catching team in the secondary, and they got the job done. But how sweet was that? You know, to drive to Cincinnati, well,
Yeah.
not quite Cincinnati, but to go all the way up there and play against a team that, you know, last year had their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bowling Green comes back though and gets revenge on that loss, and here we are. They're getting ready for a state championship. Let's talk a little bit about what you think is going to happen in tomorrow's game. Where do you think? Where do you see this thing going?
Well, Owensboro obviously 12-0. They're a fantastic team, and they have the 5A Player of the Year in Gavin Wimsott. Fantastic junior quarterback, and they're a passing team, Doug. They have been this entire regular season and postseason. But that's what I think benefits the Purples the most. As I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, the secondary is playing lights out. And I think that benefits Bowling Green because nobody can throw on this secondary. And if they do, odds are the pass is going to get intercepted at least half the time or a third of the time. So I'm really interested to see Owensboro's passing offense versus Bowling Green passing defense. I think that's the key to the game.
You know, they're going to have to keep it short passes because, you know, it's tough to beat the Purples deep. That just doesn't happen. But, I think that the Purples, in my opinion, and I'm going to go out, I'm not going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go out and just say, I believe that the Purples are that much better. They're going to win by 3. 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Not 3 points, but 3 touchdowns. So I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow, and I can't wait to be there and be a part of it. Taryn, thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. It's been a pleasure.
I know you want to join me in telling everybody out there to have a Merry Christmas. Eat plenty of stuff. Enjoy your family. And we will see you back here every Saturday at 6 p.m. on WNKY NBC 40. Merry Christmas.